This is just a simple 5-petal blossom cutter, and I'm going to use it to make a rosebud. You'll need to cut about 1/4 of an inch in towards the middle around each petal to kind of help separate them a little bit. And I'm just doing that with my angle offset spatula. Then put your petal on a shaping foam, and using a ball tool, you want to thin and slightly frill the edges of the petals. The way you do this is to make sure that your ball tool is on the very edge of the petal. And then I'm going to thin and cup the center of each petal. Lightly brush the rose base with some gum glue. Thread the flower up to the center there, and then you're just going to take your fingers and wrap each petal around the base so that it looks like a rosebud. You may have to rebrush each petal before you attach it, and you may find that you have to hold each petal in place for just a couple of seconds. You want to work quickly so that the gum paste doesn't dry out, but you may still find that you have to hold each petal in place for just a brief moment before putting the next one up. I actually prefer this blossom cutter because it cuts the petals a little bit deeper, and so that saves you the extra step of having to take your spatula and separate them. I usually use 3 of these for a full rose, and so I have the extras underneath the plastic flap there so they don't dry out. But working with them individually, you want to do the same thing. Use your ball tool to thin the center and ruffle or thin out the edges of each petal. Lightly brush the base with gum glue and then just thread the blossom up to the bottom of the base. You want to wrap this first petal around the base pretty tightly so that you don't see the top of the base poking up through the center of the rose. And then you may need to apply a little bit more gum glue as you attach each petal. And just as with the last cutter that I used, you may find that you have to hold each petal in place for a couple of seconds. You can then take your fingers and kind of tweak the petal positions, or if you want them to curl back slightly so that it looks like a rosebud opening up. If you need some fine tuning, you could certainly use a veining tool or a toothpick to kind of do that. And there you have a rosebud. Now to build the rose, just continue on doing the same with the remaining blossoms, using a ball tool to frill and thin each petal on a shaping foam. Preferably your rosebud is pretty dry and you can just thread the next set of petals on. And it's the same thing, you just lightly brush each petal and position it wherever you want around the rose. You can make it look like it's still pretty closed up, or you can make it look a little bit more open. Once you have all the petals attached and positioned, slightly pinch around the bottom of the base, and then you can take your veining tool to open up the flower a little bit more and position the petals however you like.